Hello and welcome everybody once again to this series on negotiations. In this part 3 of this series on negotiations, I would like to talk about the 5 reasons not to treat negotiations like a game of chess. Well, to be honest, negotiation is different from a game of chess, and the differences are as follows. So, negotiation is not a zero-sum game unlike chess. It is not that one party will lose and the other party will win like in chess, but rather in a negotiation both parties benefit from each other. The second difference between negotiations and a game of chess is in a game of chess you know the motivation of the other party. The motivation of the other party is to defeat you. However, that is not the case in negotiations. In negotiation, you do not know the motive of the other party. You can't really assume what their objectives are. Now, the third difference between negotiations and a game of chess is in chess, we assign values to assets, right? Constant values to assets, which does not change throughout the game. However, in the case of negotiations, each move and with the passage of time, the assets have different values. So you cannot just assume what the assets were valued at before will be the same if you sit at a later point in time in negotiations. The fourth difference between negotiations and a game of chess is that in chess all moves are at the table. There are not really any hidden moves. However, in negotiations, you might not be aware of all the parties, all the hidden agendas, all the people who are influencing this negotiation. And this is something you might have to take into consideration and spend time as to decide and understand what might be some other factors influencing these negotiations. The fifth difference between negotiations and a game of chess is that in chess, the board is frozen in time, while that is not the case in negotiation. As time goes on, the pieces in the game of negotiation can move on with their conditions, and the setup can change with the passage of time. So the leverage can also change. A good tip at this point is to understand and to sort of audit the interests of the counterparty and the constraints of the counterparty every time you sit down with them at the table.